Hi, my name is Sheila Evans, and welcome to my studio. This is my Hobbit House tiny enamel studio, just barely big enough to do what I need to do to make things like these. Um, these are enamel on steel. This is actually a hammered copper top that I created and enameled that, and then I bent these steel pieces. Each of these panels takes about probably 6 or 7 firings. The firings are quick, but it's fired in a kiln at about 1400 degrees. On this, there's the chime. I built all of the parts of this and put it together, which was a first, and that was a really fun project. I'd been thinking about doing it for a long time, but finally got around to it. And then this piece over here, this is a chafing stand that I found salvaged that I managed to patina, and that was the starting point of this piece, which is all about migratory birds and protections being removed from migratory birds and animals in the last few years. So a lot of my pieces have an environmental theme, and this is one of them. So I have been working in enamel for probably about the past 4 years. I've been a painter and a pastelist for decades, probably 30 years. Anyway, but I picked up this medium because I wanted to do something that was really permanent, something that could be outside, something that might translate eventually into public art. And I've been doing a lot of larger pieces, but lately I've gotten into doing some small work, partially because there's small work shows coming up, studio sales, holiday time, but anyway, but it's been really fun. For instance, I had to learn to hammer the copper top for the birdcage chime out there. And before I did that, I did a few practice bowls, like these little copper ones. And since I had them laying around, I was like, hey, I think I'm going to see what it's like to try to enamel them. And so I started doing these, and it was kind of addictive. So that's what I've been working on lately, is doing a lot of these little copper bowls, and then actually starting to work on some jewelry pieces, which they're not put together yet because I'm missing the parts. But anyway, I'm doing these little panels for cuff bracelets, and yeah, and also all of those involve shaping copper with a hammer, and then I have to cut it out, file it, shape it, clean it, and then start adding layers of enamel, which I do by spraying it with airbrush for the most part, and doing sgraffito techniques, and each layer gets fired separately, so each piece will have anywhere from probably 5 to 8 or 10 firings. The firings are really quick, just a couple of minutes and it's done, and then it has to cool, but yeah, it's a pretty labor-intensive process, but I really enjoy it because there's just so many different things to do. Some of my bigger pieces involve a lot more planning and layout. These pieces are kind of one-off, freehand things that I do that just come out how they do. The larger pieces require a lot of planning. I usually make layers of friskets to block out when I spray on the pieces, so I'll have more control, precision, how everything's going to look. I do a lot of planning ahead of time. And so it's a really labor-intensive process. A larger piece can take me up to a month, probably, most of the time, just because there's so much to do. And I love doing this. It's just so exciting. I love making things, and I love learning new things too. So I think, that is a lot of the reason that I've done so many different different mediums. But yeah, I love learning new skills and solving problems. I'm really inspired by Harold Belays. I heard once that he's the one that talked me into trying this in the first place, but he would accept a job and not have any idea how he was going to do it, and then he would figure it out as he went. And I try to keep that problem solving in mind, and try to take on things that I don't know how to do. And it's been really fun because they've been turning out okay, and I love the process. I love the learning. I love the making. It's just really exciting to me. And if I am not making things, I just get really cranky and nobody wants to be around me when I'm not making things, so I would say that's why I love being an artist. Anyway, my medium is kiln fired enamel, which has to be fired onto metal at around 1400 degrees or so. And I do it on a variety of surfaces. I use steel sometimes, but recently I've been working on these little copper items. So I've been doing bowls, which, well, it starts out like this. I'll get a sheet of copper and cut it out. And then using this log and this lovely hammer that I just got, I will shape it into a form like this. And then I'm ready to start enameling. So in this case, I've got one that I've already done, and it has a cover coat on it, which is white, which will provide a nice base for the colors that I'll put down later. And it's ready to go into the kiln, so I just need to put on some protective gear and I'll get it in there. Okay, that'll go in for about 2 minutes, but I have to watch the temperature. So when I open this up, I've got to wait for it to drop to about 1450 before I put this in. If it's too hot, it'll warp a bunch. Okay, so then that's in there. Mix it up and start the timer. Now I'll have to continue to watch this temperature because it'll start to go up pretty quickly, and I don't want it to get very high to prevent it from warping. So I'll just have to watch it and open the door periodically. I'm just starting to learn to do that, and I found out a trick where you can take 3 similar bowls and stack the hot one inside and reshape it. So I'm going to be trying that as soon as I have 3 similar bowls made. But yeah, for the moment I can just do it with a couple of trowels, kind of reshape it if it comes out warped. But I'm just going to try, hopefully, to keep it from getting too hot. So once it gets up to about 1420, I'm going to check and see if it's if the surface is gloss. That means that it's fully fired. So I can peek in really fast and make sure, see where it's at, and then if it needs a little more time, I'll let it go. Still not. No, still not gloss. Yep, there we go. There. So now that piece is ready to have color applied, which the colors I use, especially for something curved like this, they come as a fine powder, and I have to mix it with water and then strain it to make sure that there aren't any chunks, I guess. And then I'll go ahead and put it through an airbrush. I apply it with an airbrush. And usually I'll heat it. It has to be completely dry before I put it in the kiln, so I'll use a heat gun, heat it up, maybe give it another layer just to be sure that there's enough so that it's even. Yeah, I found that working with liquid enamel is the best. You can see it looks pretty normal right now, but it would basically burn my hand off if I were to touch it. So if you like what you see here, and if you're interested in seeing more, you can find my art at sheilaevans.net online, and I will have a special page just for the MAC Holiday Tour with items for sale, similar to what you see here. And there's a lot of other things on the website too, my paintings, my pastels. So if you don't mind, give that a look, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have happy holidays.